Hey everyone, we are here with Taylor, CEO of MyCrypto. She'll be doing a talk around what we need to do to not have DeFi get pawned every day. All right.
Awesome.
Can
Thanks
you
so
guys
much.
confirm that you can hear her in the chat?
Hey, can you guys hear me okay? Yes or no? Okay, awesome. Maybe the chat's just slow. It's not you guys. Hey. All right, so we are going to talk about DeFi and how to not keep going down the path that we're going on, because at this point it's getting absurd. I was actually joking around about the timing of this talk because the last 2 weeks around this time, we've had bad things happen. And I'm really hoping that we won't have another one happen today, like right now. But just based on all of the stuff around this ecosystem, we may. So let's dive in. And if you guys have any questions or you want to cut in or whatever, let's do this. Like, we're online. Let's do this. Okay, so a bit ago, Sam posted this message in Telegram, and I think he was kind of joking around, or making light of a pretty bad situation. But it got me thinking about all the different things that have happened and how fast they've started to happen. And so, I track a lot of the ecosystem events, but I've never so I decided that I was going to go through and just pull the stuff between January 1st, 2020 and today or last week. So first 4 months, what have we seen? And one of the most interesting things is like the exchange hacks are way down compared to last year. Last year, by this time, I think we had like 6 or 7 massive exchange hacks, and then Binance got hacked like May 4th or something. So that's really interesting. And it's also interesting that, 2 of them are pretty small, relatively speaking. And then you have this weird F-coin situation where we don't know if it's a hack or an Nexus scam, or they just don't know how to do financials. And we also don't know exactly how much is actually lost on that. But this is new. This is like the first time that we've seen exchanges. Like usually this list would be 10, 12, 20 long. And another interesting thing is that like the wallets and the robberies and the size of those robberies have been way up this year. So we kicked off the year with IOTA's Trinity wallet being compromised, which was done via MoonPay's infrastructure, which was compromised. It was a pretty targeted attack. And then shortly thereafter, the Chinese investor guy got SIM swapped and had a whole boatload of Bitcoin stolen. Then we had a whole bunch of malicious Chrome extensions. I think they're targeting Ledger, Mew, MetaMask, all of the above, getting people to enter their seed phrases and then just phishing them. And then just super recently, we had this huge EOS wallet exit scam, which apparently got away with $52 million worth of EOS. Now, I don't live in EOS, so that number might be wrong. I hope it's wrong, but like that's insane. Even more insane is this is our ecosystem, the DeFi ecosystem. And that is a freaking list. Granted, I include the near misses, but I think that we should include them and we should pay attention to them because, we were not always going to have people like 1inch and Samsung protecting us. I don't even know what to say about this. So the emojis, the purple emojis are the actual exploits that actually got away with money. The little grimace emoji, those are the near misses. And then the little scared emoji guy, those are the ones like it was a near miss, but it was also like if it hadn't been a near miss, it would have been a complete wipeout of either liquidity or volume or whatever. They would have been able to get away with all of the funds, which is a different attack than say like manipulating Uniswap and getting away with some of the funds. So we've had a lot happen this year already, like a lot. And then in the middle of all of it, obviously we had Black Thursday, which was just a catastrophe in the real world and trickled down to our world. And, you know, I think that all things considered, we have recovered pretty well from it. It was a bad day. A lot of bad things happened. And it just goes to show that not only can you have these exploits, not only can you have people, you know, acting irresponsibly, but you can also have economic conditions that can just kill everything really, really, really quickly because these systems are all connected. And then the other thing that I just think is really interesting is we haven't had any super huge popular exit scams this year. Knock on freaking wood, but it is interesting. For some reason in the Ethereum space, we've kind of dodged it a bit. We have a lot of different scams, but it's not usually the type of scam where everyone trusts it and then, you know, they run away with everyone's money. It's like more of a big connect type situation. That said, you know, if the market moves up, if we have a bunch of new users entering the space, we will see the scams pop up. And there's a whole lot of attack vectors, like a whole lot more attack vectors than the DeFi stuff. Yeah, please everyone knock on wood. I just did, but I need your help with that one. So I literally just took the screenshot. So this should be pretty up to date. This is how much money is quote unquote locked in DeFi right now. It's denominated in USD, which is, it is what it is. Right now, I think it's a little bit under $1 billion. We did hit $1 billion at one point, but we have to keep in mind that since we denominate everything in USD, when the ETH price goes up, the total amount locked goes up as well. And that can happen really quickly. We just saw a pump last week where, you know, you went to bed, it was 172, you woke up, it was over 200. You know, if this market swings upwards like it did in 2017, we will see those types day after day after. And if you're developing a smart contract on Ethereum in the DeFi space, you could have $1 million in it one day and 10 million the next day and 100 million the next day and not even realize what's happening. And I think that's one of the things that scares me the most is like, I know how fast 2017 moved. I was very unprepared, but I also wasn't holding anyone's money. And I also wasn't writing smart contracts to hold money. And I think that we need to be very aware that, you know, even if no new users enter your smart contracts, the value that they hold goes up, the market goes up. So all things considered, we have been super freaking lucky for the amount of exploits and the amount of catastrophic exploits that have been responsibly disclosed, the amount of little tricks that we managed to pull out of our sleeves and, you know, save the day. It's been remarkable. We have literally been walking around acting like we're building a better world, we're saving the world, we're making boatloads of money, when in reality, we're locking up crypto and we're burning crypto and we're throwing crypto away and we're flushing it down the toilet and, you know, anything and everything in between. If we look at exactly, you know, how we, what's the number? Only 1 to 2 million is locked in the last, whatever, 4 months from these DeFi protocols. Only. But the reason I use the word only is that as you see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 were responsibly disclosed or somehow figured out. And then in just a remarkable turn of events, the biggest hack that we've ever had, which was the $25 million G-Force hack, those crazy Russians at 1inch, we could do a whole talk on this story, right? That $25 million went back to them. That does not happen. Like, that does not happen, guys. We cannot rely on Samsung. We cannot rely on 1inch. We cannot rely on hack scared and returning $25 million after they stole it. Like, we are really, 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 really lucky. And so that's why I say we've only lost 1 to 2 million, but also, like, let's keep in mind that that's a significant amount of money. It's a significant amount of money for users. It's a significant amount of money for like a really emerging ecosystem. And I know that we can get caught up, and you know, when you've got your 10x, 100x leverage positions, you start to like think about numbers and money a bit differently. But we have to keep in mind, like, that's $1 million freaking dollars in 4 months, and it should have been probably 50x that, 100x that. So if we continue to go down that we're on, we're just going to get our asses handed to us. And I really like DeFi. Like, the reason I talk about DeFi so much is that I really, really, really want it to succeed. But the way that we're approaching it right now, the things that we're doing, the things that we're not doing, the attitudes that we have, we're not on the path where, you know, there's rainbow at the end. We're all happy. We're all making money. DeFi is transforming the financial system. Like, we're not going to get there. And over the past week specifically, there have been a lot of suggestions after the Hedgic exploit and the audit that Trail of Bits did. There's been back and forth about, you know, what could have prevented this. And a lot of people have, you know, called attention to the fact that Trail of Bits did audit their smart contracts. Trail of Bits has revised it since then, saying that, you know, making it clear that this was like a very short review rather than an audit. You know, again, I could do a whole talk on just Hedgic, but there's been a lot of interesting suggestions. One is that, you know, auditors should like stake a whole boatload of money, and then if the contract gets hacked, that money is used to like pay people back. Obviously, there's the drama around, you know, software engineers have to be licensed. There's like a conversation that I saw where, you know, maybe before users can enter DeFi, like can put any other money in it, they need to pass like a multiple choice test to prove that they like they understand what's going on, they understand the risk, they accept the risk, etc. I'm really not a fan of any of these, because when we zoom out and we look at everything that's happening and we look at the world that we live in, like, what is causing all of this? You know, it's not the audit. It's not Trail of Bits calling in an audit and it being more like a review. Like, it's not that. There's a bigger issue. And so I was kind of thinking about how audits happen in the real world. And there's a lot of different type of audits, and like specifically like security audits, safety audits. And the spectrum sort of ranges from the very most traditional corporate hierarchy, you know, huge ass offices and warehouses and people running around with hard hats, all the way to like your TrueCrypt, your open source, anonymous developers, sort of this ever-changing group of developers that are contributing and not contributing. And the way that these audit, the reason they're done, how they're done, and sort of what assurances they give are very different. So for example, like in a traditional corporate setting, you might have internal audits just all the time. You could have like one department audits another, you could have one location audits another. Like, there's all sorts of different ways that people do this. But it's ongoing. You will bring in outside people, especially if you have to like regulatory hurdle or get some, you know, certificate from someone. But for the most part, you know, these things are for the company to protect themselves. And the company itself wants to be secure, because if they're not secure, then they lose money. Then people lose their jobs. You know, the CEO gets thrown out, the stock price goes on. There's all of these mechanisms in place. You go over like, you know, the OG cypherpunk open source world, it's very different. You know, we've had a couple situations where huge projects were actually sort of crowdfunded by users to get a security audit, because they wanted to have these assurances that the developers were writing good code that was secure, but also that the developers were not, say, actually the NSA and backdooring everything. And so that's like two totally separate ends of these things. And us in our little DeFi bubble, we're in the middle somewhere, just making everything different like we tend to do. And that's been one of my huge realizations, is like, DeFi is just different. It really, really is. The culture is really, really, really different. When you live in this space, it's easy to forget just how short-term the incentive structures are, but it's insane. You have tokens that are distributed today, and you can sell them tomorrow for 2x or 1/2. You know, you don't have like these vesting schedules. You don't have people investing in your company as much as your, say, token. And those people typically are not investing so that in 20, 30 years, they have like a nice little nest egg for the retirement. You know, these are kids on the internet who, you know, probably have like a bit of ADHD and jump from token to token to token. And you see this all the time, right? Hacks is a perfect example. Like the fact that that has any traction, that's why. People always want the newest thing, etc. And then some other like really kind of interesting things is like, you know, we want to decentralize everything, and sometimes I think we go a bit overboard. You know, like we'll keep our kill switches, but you know, if something bad happens to our smart contract, then we'll just decentralize the blame around a bit. And then I think we're gonna have a reckoning with the whole anonymous cypherpunk culture. You know, we have Satoshi. Satoshi did good. Mean that a semi-centralized project that's going to take all your money that has an anonymous founder is also going to be good. Like we have to remember that being anonymous is actually like an untrustworthy signal, not a trustworthy one. Satoshi was like an anomaly. We need to be more skeptical. And when I think about the builders, right? And I call them builders because I don't know the word. They're not necessarily CEOs. They're not necessarily running companies. But they include all of those types of people. Anyone who's creating a product in this space. They have new organizational structures. They're based in all the countries or none of the countries, or they're a DAO, or you know, any number of words. Very experimental, pushing the envelope, again, disrupting all of the things. And their sort of quote unquote equity is usually like a token, and it has like maybe a lockup, but maybe not. Maybe they can sell it tomorrow. And the very fact that they're building these systems with cryptocurrency, using a new traditional organizational structure that's not recognized by any government, you know, the people that are building these products have a very high appetite for risk. And you have to kind of understand that, you know, if you look at sort of the spectrum of builders in this space, you know, you have the ones that you consider risky, and then the ones that you consider less risky. But if you zoom out, like we're all over here. We're all in like this super risk category. And it's only when you only like zoom in too tightly that you're like, oh, he's super safe. No. Everyone is engaging in really, really risky behavior. And I think it affects the choices that we make. It affects how we see things. It affects how we build things. It affects how we talk about things, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, we have this whole Schiller token holder thing. The closest equivalent in the traditional world is the shareholder, the investor, you know, maybe someone who is sort of an advisor or something, right? They can influence you a little bit, but not too much. And they can also influence the price of your stock, or in this case, your token. Unfortunately, tokens are not the same as investing like equity. It's completely different. Because of all the reasons that I mentioned before, you know, people are flipping these tokens like tomorrow. So they're not invested in the long-term growth of any of the products in the space. And if you think about that, you know, if a token holder just doesn't want to be left holding the bag at the end of this month, because this month is really like a long-term hold for them, they're not going to encourage projects to, say, dedicate resources to security or spend another second security audit because they had to re-architect their smart contracts because the first security audit was just such a disaster. They want that token or that project or whatever it is to launch. They want to gain from it in whatever way that is, whether that's, I'm talking about tokens a lot, but there's a lot of kind of structures for these. There's like affiliate referral things. There's the possibility of getting money. And then obviously if you hold the token and the protocol gets used, then you can sell the token. And the other thing that's super interesting that now that I say I hope people will pay attention to it more and call it out a bit more, is we have this tendency to treat DeFi projects like a little bit like traditional companies in certain ways. Like we're like, you get the audit, you prove you're safe, you pay the bills, blah, 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 blah. But then we also like these super decentralized magical beasts in other ways. I think it's creating like a lot of conflict for both. We have created this crazy influential community of individuals who invest in these tokens and will take huge risks for these very, very short-term gains. They will pump it, they will build bots for it, they will arbitrage it, they will shill it. And if something goes wrong, those same individuals will fight. Like they will fight tooth and nail to defend that project, to defend that token, to defend that protocol, to have that protocol turned back on even though they were hacked 2 days earlier. And the reason they do that is like they lost X amount, but if that protocol doesn't get turned back on ASAP, they're going to lose more. And so these token holders or these people that have money in these protocols that get hacked and get the little pause button pressed, they're very, very incentivized to push the builders and push the creators of these protocols to turn it back on now. That's fucked. It is. The fact that defending really egregious actions and even recommending really egregious, irresponsible actions is, it only makes sense when you look at money and you look at the ulterior motive of people promoting these ideas. If you get rid of it, it doesn't make a lick of sense. So where do we go from here? Okay, so I have a list like long, but we're just gonna do 3 because I just listened to a podcast and they said that 3 things and make them actionable and measurable. I think these are actionable. This one sort of is. And I think that if we all try together, I think we can actually improve things, because basically what we need to do is we need to provide a balance to like the worst offenders, the worst token holders, the worst shillers, the worst people that just have no regard for safety and no awareness that something bad could happen. But we also need to reward the good behavior that people do. And that's the thing that I think is really missing right now from this ecosystem, is that if like MakerDAO takes 2 years to even get to testnet, nobody's like, hey guys, thank you so much for doing your diligence and taking the time necessary to build this complex system that's going to hold billions of dollars. People are like, dude, it took you 2 years to get to testnet. Why aren't you on mainnet? What the fuck? And that, like, that's got to go. We need to be better at rewarding the good behaviors. Even if like someone slips up first and then they like make a good recovery and a good effort and they like take it into their soul and they make everyone right. Like these types of actions, I think we need to reward more and more. Because if we keep pushing the bad out and keep pulling the good in, hopefully everything will be stronger. Most of all, the people that are actually going to be losing money. So first off is a security audit means that a project has enough money to pay for a security audit. It does not mean that they're secure. I could talk all day about audits and what they are and what they're not, and I'm probably going to on Twitter like a whole bunch in the coming weeks. But I just want to emphasize that a security audit is like a third-party set of eyes that comes in and takes a look at your code. It is one tiny aspect of like a good, secure culture, a good, secure company. It is like one little sliver. And if that's all you do, you're definitely not secure. And if it's all you do and your audit comes back with like a whole bunch of errors, they're definitely not secure. And I understand that auditors have been catching some heat lately because their audit reports aren't necessarily, you're never going to see an audit report that comes out and says things the way that I say them. They're always going to be professional. They're always going to require you to read between the lines. And as this space matures, hopefully we have like more journalists and more analysis type people who like doing the research, who can translate this audit, this complex document, this technical document, translate it into human language. For now, though, we just have to know that an audit is something that people have to do. It's good for them, but it's like, it's one little step. It does not make them secure, and you should not treat it as a stamp of approval ever. Okay, and then I want everyone to try to be more skeptical. And I don't mean be mean. I don't mean be evil. I don't mean like, you know, throw a tantrum on Twitter and call people names. I mean just like when you look at a new project or you go on DeFi Pulse and there's like a name of a protocol that you've never heard before, instead of being like, ooh, let me see what it is, opening up their marketing homepage and getting super excited and like throwing all your money in it, I want to like pause and be like, okay, these people want my money. This page is made to manipulate me into giving them my money. But is that a good decision? What things do I need to know to be able to make that decision? Right? And like a good example is like, do they have an audit? What does the audit say? Who did the audit? How long was the audit? But there's also things like, do they have a security engineer on staff? How many engineers do they have? Are these engineers or are these engineers real people? Right? ICO Mania 2017. Every single day, Harry would like text me and be like, so this team's just fake. Also, that's like, you know, a celebrity as their graphic designer. You know, like they're just pulling stock photos. These things are going to happen more and more. We need to be skeptical. And that is just like a general culture attitude that we need to instill in each other, in ourselves, and also the newcomers coming into the space, because they're the ones that are most at risk for this type of stuff. And ask questions. One of the most powerful things that like literally anyone in this community can do, it does not matter if you're technical, it doesn't matter if you're a designer or an artist or a basketball player or like the best security engineer on the face of this earth, like anyone can ask a question. Don't feel like it's stupid, it's not stupid. Even if it is stupid, someone else had the same question, so you guys can go be stupid together. Nobody's gonna tell you it's stupid, so you won't even know. But seriously, like social pressure is really, really powerful. And it's, you know, when we talked about incentives earlier, there's these financial incentives at play, there's these like equity, regulatory gray areas, like there's all these things that are influencing the culture that we have in this general ecosystem right now. And one way to shift that and show that you care about things like security and safety and diligence, you care that teams are aware of the bad things that can happen, and you care that teams are going to spend the energy protecting you. Asking questions shows that. You know, it's, I always love it when people ask about like our privacy policy or like, you know, our audits or anything, because, you know, we do those because I personally think they're a requirement and they're important to me and they're important to my team, because, you know, that's the culture that we have with my company. But to know that other people appreciate them too, it makes them that much more worthwhile. And I don't think that a lot of people, I know at least for us, I think someone asked about our privacy policy once in like 3 years. You know, so I'm guessing the same sort of attitudes are happening with other teams, and it's easy to not get an audit It's easy to track all the things and invade everyone's privacy. Like, it's easy to do that if nobody seems to care about it. So not only do we have to care about it, not only do we have to be aware about it, we also have to ask questions and then demand answers. Because blockchain is super, super, super amazing in terms of incentives. Like, it's a thing that is literally built to create this remarkable incentive structure where everyone is on the same team. And we are. Anyone that is in Ethereum, anyone that holds ETH is on the same team. That means that you, everyone listening to this, whether you're building something, whether you're a CEO, whether you're just watching on Twitter, like, it does not matter. You're part of Ethereum, and you have a responsibility to help ensure Ethereum succeeds. And it's not going to succeed if we keep going down this path. So reward the good and, kick out the bad, and we'll be way, way, way better off. And that is all I've got for you. I'm Taylor Monahan. I'm the founder and CEO of MyCrypto, and we're always on Twitter. And lastly, beta.mycrypto.com. Please tell us what's borked about it, because we've been working so hard on this and we want your feedback. Thank you so much.
Fantastic job. Thank you so much. We're going to transition to the next session now. And sincerely, thank you for doing this. This was great.